Okay, so today we're going to start with a new equation, vertical motion formula. And if you think about our equations from yesterday, we already did. So we had formulas that started off with the negative 16. They were just in vertex form. So we have height equals negative 16 t squared plus vt plus s, where h is the height, t is the time. So since we're doing x and y, our h, our height, is going to be our y. So y equals to h. And x equals time. And then we have the initial velocity, v, that goes before the x, and then plus the initial height. So we are leaning out of a window in a tall building and using a sling to launch a stone straight up. The stone starts with a velocity of 53 feet per second, and it leaves the sling at 546. So this is your v, and this is your initial height, s. So your equation is y equals negative 16x squared plus 53x plus 546. Because we have to have an equation to be able to find a table. So go to y equals, type your equation in. Negative 16x squared plus 53x plus 546. And then we're going to go to your table. If your table has decimals, like mine does, then change it to a whole number, so 0, and to change it 1. And we're going to fill in the table. And they just did 0, 1, and 2. So at 0, we have 546. 1 at 583. And 2 at 588. And also one other thing you want to get from your table, when does it hit the ground around? So it's going to hit the ground between 7 and what? 7 and 8. Okay, so looking at the graph, which one starts at 546? B. If there were 2 of them, then you would need to look at when it hits the ground between 7 and 8. But there's only 1. Not too bad. So what do y'all think the negative 16 represents in the equation? So we have pressure on us every day, because if we don't have pressure on our bodies, on the earth, then we would be floating like astronauts, correct? So what is that pressure called? Gravity. Okay, so number 2, suppose you're standing in a hole and you use a sling to launch the stone straight up. The stone starts with a velocity of 43, so that's your v. So y equals, and make it smaller on y'all's end. Negative 16 x squared, and where does the 43 go? David, flip it. Flip your computer around. Thank you. Where does the 43 go? Okay, so we have our formula, negative 16 t squared plus vt. V is initial velocity. So in front of the t, which is your x, 43, this says velocity, so wouldn't that be the initial velocity?
Yep.
Yes. Plenty. Plus 43x. And since we're starting at ground level, then it'd be plus 0. Reminder, I do not have an example like this, but if you are below ground level, if you're 5 feet below ground level, then you'd be subtracting 5. Okay. So, how high will the stone be after 2 seconds? So, what's going to be 2? Is it X or Y? X, because the X is the time. So, we're going to plug in X to find Y. And actually, we're going to go to our table and look for when X equals 2 and find out what Y is. So, Y equals negative 16x squared plus 43x, and I don't erase everything, I just type over them. Saves you time. And then go to your table again, and we're going to look for when x equals 2 and y equals what? 22, perfect. So, 22, and if you put the units, it'd be seconds. So, we go from, we have 0, 0, 1 and 27, 2 and 22, and then we're going to end up hitting the ground between 3 and 4. So, at 3, we're at negative 15. So, from that, which one's my graph? Which one starts at 0, 0? Or which 2 can I omit? There we go. C and D. Because they don't start at 0. Okay, and then A goes up to 50 something, and at 2 we're at 22. So A doesn't work, so our answer is B. Okay, so before we move on, let's talk about the answer B and D real quick. So this formula right here, this is your, if you look on your formula chart, is your axis of symmetry. And make sure I spell it right. Yeah, there's 2 M's. So your axis of symmetry is where it splits the parabola in half. And so it will give you the x coordinate, the x value or coordinate of your vertex. So why would you need that? Well, if it asks the question, at what time did it reach its maximum height, you could use that formula. So those are reasons why you would use it. So one, you want to know what it is, because that is not your answer. Not when we're looking to plug in a number in for x or y. Okay? So, number 3. Suppose you lean out of a window in a tall building and drop a stone. It leaves your hand at 540 feet. So we still start off with y equals negative 16x squared. So for dropping it, what's our initial value? Our velocity, sorry. What's the initial velocity? Will it have any? Besides gravity pulling it down? No. So if you throw it down, it'll have initial velocity. But if you just drop it, it will have none. So nothing in front of x, and then it leaves your hand at 540 feet. So plus 540. Okay, so what's our graph going to look like? So at 0, where are you going to be at? 540. So which graph starts at 540? Yeah. And so at 0, 540, and 1 and 2. So y equals, calculator on. So 1 is at 524. What is 2?
476.
Very good, 476. Okay, and then the next type, I didn't add a lot of these. We just have 2 of the next type, and they're going to be using the same equations. So, number 4. So again, our equation y equals negative 16x squared. Suppose you lean out of a window of a tall building and drop a stone. So this one's going to be exactly like the last one. So it leaves your hand at 530. So plus 530. And provide, so what we want it, they're asking, the question is how much time will it take to hit the ground level? So to hit the ground level, we're looking for when something equals 0, x or y. So think of your formula. We're looking for the time to be 0 or for the height to be 0? Height. So we're looking for when y equals 0. So we're going to plug into y to get x. So we're looking for y equal to 0. Can we solve this equation using algebra? Yeah, there's no x in the middle, so this one's a little bit easier to do by hand. The opposite of adding 5, or the opposite of negative 16x squared is positive, so just move it over or add it. And then the opposite of multiplying times 16 would be dividing. Very good. And we are providing our answer to the nearest hundredth, so that's 2 decimal places. So we don't have to leave it in a fraction. So 530 divided by 16. So x squared equals 33.125. And I'm not going to round to the end. What's the opposite of squaring something? Square root. So you're going to take the square root of both sides. And of course, when you take the square root, you have the positive and negative. But since we're looking at time, we don't need the negative time. So second square root, second answer. And x equals 5.7 what? 6. Very good. Because the 5 makes the 5 turn into a 6. And this would be seconds. So that is one way to find the answer. And I'm going to show you another way on the other problem, and the other is by the graph. So go to y equals, type the equation in. If you want to watch, you can. So graph it. So my window is 0 to 10 because I don't need negative. I don't have negative time. And then my y, I have 0 to 600 because that covers most of the problems. And then my scale's at 50. So at 50, I have 12 tick marks. So 2 for every 100. So you don't want 600 tick marks. It will make your calculator do circles. Okay, so I have it graphed. And so when y equals 0, I'm looking for the 0. So I'm going to go second calculate, and I'm going to choose 0, number 2. So to find this 0, that turtle is left. And then I need to go below when y equals negative. So I'm going to go to the right, because all you can do is left and right, until my y is negative, which it is. And then guess, hit enter one more time, and it gives you the 5.755. So you can always use your 0. Okay, one more. Number 5. So we're standing in a hole. We're launching a stone straight up. The stone starts with a velocity of 57. So that's going to be in front of your x. That's your middle term. 57x. It leaves the sling at ground level, so plus 0. How much time will it take the stone to get a height of 4 feet? So again, X is your time and Y is your height. So we're going to plug in 4 in for Y. And so we're going to plug in 4 in for Y to find what X equals. So that's B. Okay, so can we use the 0 for this? Way too big for y'all, sorry. Can we use the 0 to find it? Does it equal 0? No. Could it equal 0? What's the opposite of positive 4? Negative 4. Okay, so again, I was going to show you 2 different ways. So let me show you one real quick. Leaving it as is, negative 16x squared plus 57x. And let me zoom in for y'all. Okay, so I am looking for 4 in the table. So I'm going to go to my table. And so between 0 and 1, I have to hit 4 because I go to 41. And then between 3 and 4, I have to hit 4 because I go from 27 to negative 28. So since I'm rounded to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to do my change as 0.01. And then I'm looking for my Y value closest to 4. So what's closer to 4? And I like to think about money. So $4. So $3.90 or $4.45. What's closer to 4? $3.90. It's closer to $4 than $4.40. $4.40 is above. So one of my answers is going to be, I'm just going to write it here so y'all can see it, 3.91. Oops, sorry. It's going to be 0.07. It's your X value. Okay, and then my other one was between 3 and 4, if I remember correctly. So 3. And I'm looking for 4 in my Y value. And there we go. So 4.04 at 3.49. So alternative. The alternative to that is move the 4 over. And opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4. And then put that in Y equals. And then use your 0. So graph and do the second calculate. So second calculate 0. And I'm at 5 and negative 119. So that's way on this side. I need to go left. So to find that right point, I'm a little bit above. Of course, I can change my window so it's not so high if we wanted to. Number 2. Second, calculate. Okay, so again, I'm at negative. So there's my turtles. And so to find that point, be left and go to your Y's negative. And that gives you 3.49. And that's what we got. And then you would do it again on the other side. Okay?